Alrighty. Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Crusader Coaching Podcast. Woo! This is our first video recorded
First
podcast.
video one, yeah.
I know I'm super excited. My partner and I are here. My name is Mauro and Shiv,
I'm Shiv Taylor.
and we form Crusader Coaching combined.
We're finally moving on to the next dimension. We have video.
we combine in the video dimension and we form one unique entity. Well, we hope everyone is doing well. Today is February 16th. February. today is April 16th.
I was so confused for a second.
Oh my gosh. So right now
I was like, are you purposely doing it wrong? Like, I didn't understand that for a second.
It just got me. I don't know why the date just got me. I don't know what happened.
I know. I mean, maybe you get the day wrong. I wasn't expecting the month, but
every day is the same now. For those of you listening,
exactly.
if you're listening after the fact, right now we're going through this unique pandemic called COVID-19. And sometimes the days, the weeks, the months, they kind of just mesh together and we don't really know what's going on sometimes. We're just going day by day.
It's felt like 3 months for sure, but I don't think it's been that long.
It hasn't been that long, but there's definitely like a time warp situation going on
Absolutely.
here. So,
and that wasn't even planned, but that was a perfect segue to what's going on right now. I mean, this is proof that what's happening.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It ended up forming a really unique segue because we'll just ride that wave. So welcome. Today we've got a very, very cool podcast. Today we're going to talk about growth and gamification during this crisis called COVID-19. And we've got some really cool and exciting content. And it's a very unique time that we're in right now. And I've noticed that people have been showing up differently. Or rather, I should say, people are showing up more than ever with what's really going on inside. People are really rising up or they're sinking below. Yeah. And I've noticed that because you see a lot of good, a lot of great heroes rising up, and then you see, unfortunately, some of the people who are not coping with it as well, and they're kind of sinking below. They're having a hard time adjusting to this lifestyle, and whether if it's financially, emotionally, physically, there are symptoms going on, and they're very real, and they have nothing to do with the actual virus itself, but rather the lifestyle that's being lived right now because of the virus. And Shiv and I felt that this was the best time to kind of talk about this topic and kind of really put it out there in the forefront. And it just happened to coincide with the workshop that we had planned for this month anyways. So I'm very excited for it because it definitely brought a new perspective to what we're going to talk about. So I wanted to start the ball rolling here, Shiv, and I want to ask you, how have you been growing during COVID-19? Can you share with me a little bit about what's been going on in your world?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's tough to say really, but I think it all starts with, understanding how things are different, I suppose, and understanding now the things that you think you need, the things that you thought you need before that maybe you don't need anymore, whether it's eating out, going shopping, just stuff like that, really. I love, going to sporting events, but obviously those are canceled as well. So, I'd say I've grown by realizing, how much I guess I have on my own at my house, and realizing that sometimes you don't really need a lot of the other distractions. And for a lot of people I know, they can't take it anymore. They don't want to be home anymore. They have cabin fever. A lot of people say that they hate working, but I'm sure a lot of people right now are missing going to work because they have some sort of, I guess,
Right.
routine,
Right.
you know. And right now, I'm sure a lot of people are losing that. I
Right.
know I did for a few days, but it's it's hard not to,
Yeah.
especially if you don't know how to handle what's going on.
Yeah. And it's a very unique point that you touched upon, a couple actually. It really makes you grateful for the things that you do have, the things that you take for granted every single day, because now more than ever, we're really experiencing the tiny details and the tiny objects and things that we have in our life that kind of get glossed over because we have sometimes the shiny object effects, the shiny object effect where we always gravitate towards the shiny object, and that could be
Mhm.
anything, right? For you, you said it was kind of like, going out all the time, or watching, going to a live sports event. For
Yeah,
me, it's going out as well. I really love going to the movie theaters.
yeah, right.
I really love traveling, man. I mean, I had a flight to Atlanta actually. I was going to have a flight yesterday. Oh, what am I saying? Actually, today. I bought my ticket like a month and a half ago, kind of when this whole thing was starting, and I really didn't know what was going to happen. The ticket was $43, and I was like, fudge, I'm going to buy this ticket right now. Now it's like I have a credit for it.
$43, yeah.
43, dude. I mean, flying to Atlanta from where I live, from where we live in South Florida, was
Yeah.
never too expensive. The ticket would usually be in between, like, 90 to $120. And I saw $43 and I'm like, let's go. I didn't care. I just bought it right then and there. Now I have the credit for it. And it really, I like to have those little trips, those weekend trips that you just go somewhere for a few days, whether if you spend it with
Absolutely,
friends or
yeah.
family, you go to an Airbnb or something, and you just spend a couple nights. Those are great little trips to kind of get out of the rhythm of things. Well, now I can't do that. At least not for a little bit longer, and Lord, not entirely sure how long. But that was something too, that all those things, little things put together, really have been, I guess, put on the side for now, and kind of really allows us to focus on different things. So now that we don't
Hmm.
have those things, what have you been focusing on instead? So kind of what has been your emphasis now that we don't have as many of the shiny objects or, or
Yeah.
routines that we had before?
I guess it's like not going mad or something. No, I'm just kidding. But I would say it's like, you know, just trying to keep up what I used to do. So a big thing for both of us is, going to kung fu, something we do multiple times a
Oh my
week.
gosh, yes.
And sure, I could replace it by working out at home. Obviously the experience of seeing your friends and training with another person,
Right,
is something you're gonna miss. But I've just
right.
been trying to, at least get the training part with school, at least get my assignments done as if I was there or something.
Excellent.
That's really all you can do for the most part. Is just trying to keep your life as it was before, I guess.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
That's actually one of the things that we want to highlight today is what is the next, what is the nearest possible substitute that you can create for the routine that you already had in place.
Hmm.
So, from a neurological perspective, from a psychological perspective, the brain is a supercomputer and it absorbs information, right? So that's just how the brain is. And so if we already have a set pattern, a set structure, a set routine that we have been following and we've created, whether if it's over weeks, months, or years, it's something that we already have programmed and instilled in us. So during this time, the best thing that we can do is continue that structure as closely as possible,
Hmm.
or create brand new ones
that will fit within the framework that we already have. So this is the best time to really think about, if you take your life and you kind of encompass it, whether if you do this on a sheet of paper, whether if you do this on a vision board, whether if you meditate on it, if you write something down, or if you visualize something with graphs and pictures, this is the time for you to kind of look at every area of your life that is lacking or missing something from before, and really list out, and do this as an actual activity. I mean, really list out the nearest possible substitutes that you can, because that will give you the sense of normalcy, right? And that's the focus, that's the emphasis that we want to have. In order to keep growing, we have to keep following a good routine, a good structure. And that way it's fun, right? Because now you're taking, and that's kind of part of gamification, is you're taking something boring, you're kind of taking something dull, and you're taking a somewhat objectively difficult time that we're passing, and you're flipping it and you're turning it into a time of growth. You're flipping it, you're turning it into a game. And that's kind of one of the best things you can do, is really take a look at every area of your life. Take a look at your financial life. Take a look at your relationships. Take a look at your physical health. Take a look at your career or business. And now is the time for you to really analyze, well, what are the changes that you want to make? And also, what are the things that you can do to enhance? So really think about that. What are the things that you can do in each of those areas to enhance what you have going on? So to give you an example of what I've been focusing on, well, I've been really focusing on creating digital content. And Shiv and I have really been working every single day to put more posts, to put more videos, to do additional webinars, because right now that's one of the best things that we can do for our business is put content out there. So we can't meet in person with big groups of people. So we just made a shift and pivot, and we focused on digital content. That is the nearest possible substitute that we can do to continue to serve other people. Another focus that I have had for myself personally, from the physical health perspective, is I've been continuing to maintain my 5-day workout week, Monday through Friday, every single day, and just continuing what I was doing before. So my goals are the same, even if I can't go to Kung Fu. I know what I want to work on. So I know what kicks I want to improve. I know what acrobatics I want to improve from a martial arts perspective. I know what techniques I want to work on for kickboxing. And I've really been gamifying it by putting records for myself. So today, for example, I said, okay, well, can I beat, because today I did a strength-based workout for strength training. I said, okay, can I beat my rep and my set count from last week? Can I raise the weight by 5 pounds? So you make it fun, because you really take this time to break your records. And think about in your life, what are your health and wellness goals, right? And how can you break records? Make it fun for yourself. Challenge yourself. Now's the time to really find out what you're made of. Who doesn't want to find out what they're made of? I mean, I don't know a single person on this planet who does not want to really find out what they're made of. And you can do that with anything. If you had an idea, I talked about this a couple weeks ago in a webinar. If you found yourself bored in your career, if you found yourself bored maybe in a business that you've been running, now's the time to really think about, well, what shifts and pivots do you want to make? How can you operate your business from home? How can you change? If you want to change your career, what books can you read? I mean, I've been reading books like crazy. I've been really focusing on just digesting positive content. I finished reading this book called Gamify. Author is Brian Burke. And it's funny because when I came up with this topic for the workshop last year, I had no idea that there were books written on this topic. I just created it. I was like, I like this idea of gamifying things. I'm just going to create it. Lo and behold, I find out that there's these books on gamification. I had no idea that existed. And now I'm reading the second one called Action actionable gamification by Yu-Kai Chow, and it's the same thing. It talks about these 8 different core drives that we have as human beings to want to succeed, and how gamification can really level up our life. So those are some of the focus areas that I've been doing personally. And so think about this for yourselves. What can you focus on now? What can you level up in life?
It's not just about, physical training. That's one of the easiest ways to really measure it, I suppose. But another way to gamify is, a lot of people are trying to learn new skills right now.
Yes.
And a new skill that a lot of people are learning. I'm trying. I don't want to say I'm one of them. But for example, like if you want to learn how to cook or something,
Yes.
a lot of times recipes online or something will have different difficulties or stuff like that, and that's there for a reason, because what level you're at.
Yes.
And what you could do, and so you can move up. You say, oh, I want to try this kind of thing now, or maybe I want to learn how to deep fry something. Like, so it's really with almost anything you could find. You could find a way to work at a certain level, and then what's the next step?
That's right. That's
right. Even if you just want to walk, like you're not like Coach Mauro here working out. You just want to take a walk. You could still, like, today I walked half a mile. Maybe next week I could have a full mile. And that would be like leveling up. That would be a game. You're chasing something.
You're chasing something. You're leveling up.
You get an achievement.
I love the example you used, because that's it right there. You can always find ways to challenge yourself, even with basic things like cooking, learning a new skill. You can take anything really and track and measure your progress. That's kind of one of the most important things when it comes to this idea of growth and gamification, is you keep a log, right? And you kind of measure, okay, well, this week I did this recipe. It came out this way. How can I tweak it?
Exactly.
So next week, am I going to experiment? Am I going to add some more cilantro? Am I going to use a different spice? How am I going to tweak this? How am I going to improve this next time I work on this recipe?
And doing stuff that way is a better way to learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like it's a better way to learn, because instead of, oh, you want to learn how to cook. Hey, let me jump to making, some Michelin star, 5-star meal. It's like, no, you gotta break it down. You gotta start at the bottom level kind of thing. So it really works with pretty much anything in your life.
Really?
Even if you don't want to learn something, you just want to clean your house. Right now I'm sure a lot of people are focused on keeping their house clean.
I hate cleaning because I find it so mundane. And how I make it fun is I'll just put one of my favorite soundtracks on and just jam away. That's one thing I do to make it fun. And I remember I made a vacuum game. Vacuuming is like it's like the least favorite thing of mine. And I have to vacuum certain portions of the house. And I started playing a time attack game where I would time myself, okay, how fast can I vacuum this? And it makes it fun, because you're just thinking, I got to beat my time from last week. And it's just more fun that way.
Absolutely.
And you kind of see, okay, well, it used to take me 9 minutes to do this portion of the house. Now I'm doing it in 7 minutes and 49 seconds. Where it's like, okay, like, heck, there's two drives right there. Drive number 1 is you're doing something you really don't want to do. And then drive number 2 is now you're finding a way to get it done faster. And you feel like you're growing. So it's like a huge win. Because not only are you getting better at it and doing it faster, you're also finishing it faster because you don't want to do it anyway. So it's a win-win, and it's fun.
Definitely.
It's fun to do that. The Time Attack Vacuum Cleaner, it's a game I play. You can download it for free at Crusader.com.
It's free to play.
It's a free to play game. No no downloadable content and no micro purchases.
Yeah. There's no microtransactions.
There's no microtransactions. Sorry, EA.
Yeah, they're not gonna like these games at all. None of the games we're pitching, they're gonna like.
Yeah,
'Cause they're all free.
they're all free, man. And there's a lot of value in this type of mindset. There's a lot of value in this time. And I wanted to ask you actually, what are some of the personal values that you've kind of really gotten out of this, that you've really been able to zero in on? And is there anything in particular that you'd like to share with anybody listening on the value of this time, and perhaps some personal values that you feel like have been highlighted because of this situation?
Well, I guess there's always the value of just, you know, understanding that you're home and you can, a lot of people probably before this, they were probably nonstop working, you know.
Yes.
There's maybe some people that were, working full time, overtime, whatever, right before this all happened. So I'm sure a lot of people like that. I was working pretty much full time before all this happened, and instantly right off the bat, you get the value of, you know, you're home, you could breathe, you could,
Yeah.
you don't always have to necessarily be in a rush or, I'm not saying don't do anything or whatever, but I'm just saying like at first, that's not probably the first value you get in a time like this. And then, obviously you get the value of being with your family. You value your family even more. You understand like, oh wow, especially if you're fortunate enough to live with them, you understand, in a time like now, you could talk to them more than ever.
Yeah.
I guess for most people, a lot of the values right now are going to be just the simplest things. No one's going to figure out something crazy about themselves. It's just going to be like, oh, wow. Like, the things that you were told in the beginning that you've now forgotten because of how crazy life is with technology and going places every day. It's like now you go, just being at home is a value, just being with your family, understanding that, if you live in a place like me and you where there's AC and stuff, like,
Yeah.
you just see the value in that really. And like, is right now really that bad? Like, no, I mean, it's not that bad.
It's not.
And I think a lot of people should see that. And I think people are.
Yeah. It's interesting because there is such a shoot up, there is such a rise of the value of personal connection and really bonding with people now more than ever. And I know some people now who have told me that they're actually busier than ever. And they find themselves more than ever now having conversations on a deeper level with people
Absolutely.
whom they never would have had them with during their normal life. Families now are bonding more. Friends are bonding more. Spouses are bonding more now. Because
Definitely.
now there's no excuse. I'll say this and I'll say this again because I really stand by it. There's never an excuse for anything. It's either a priority for you or it's not. And that's okay, and I say that because it's the truth. However, now more than ever, there is no excuse to really take a little bit of extra time to connect with someone. And I mean really connect. I'm not talking, just say, hi, how's it going? Like really bond, like really, take a look at the friends that you have in your life, the people whom you love, and really see how can you level up those connections. Like Shiv said, it's not just about leveling up in a specific area, whether if it's physical or not. It's just really leveling up your life in its entirety. And now more than ever, this is a great opportunity to really connect. There's a lot of value right now in being able to do stuff like this, where even if you're not physically in front of someone, if you really have a connection with someone, whether if it's someone you like there's someone that I'm talking to right now whom I really like, it's just as real. It's not fake. It's not any different. It's real. And so if you can take the time to really bond and connect with someone and really put yourself out there and be authentic really focusing on
Yeah.
that connection. It's a great thing to do. It's a great thing that we have right now that is of value, hands down.
Yeah,
Hands down.
maybe there's some people who weren't planning on doing that, but they ended up doing that because it's just with the way life is right now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just bound to happen,
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna have those talks. Everyone's gonna people, we're all separated now, right? Like me and my friends, for example. I don't know the last time I saw my friends. Like maybe a little over a month, I'm gonna assume. But we're talking more than ever now than before. Because before it was always, yeah, I'll see you in a few
Yeah.
days. I'll see you, yeah, I'll see you
Right.
then. But
Right.
now we don't know. So I mean, I'm talking to my friends much more than I have in the last week than I have in months. Like
Wow.
it's not. It's just it's just that's the situation. A lot of people are gonna end up maybe doing stuff like that as well. Like it just kind of brings people. It's kind of weird. Like distance kind of brings people together. It's
Yes.
kind of an odd bit, but
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense.
It always reminds me of when you say things like distance can bring people together. Finding that out in a very unique way now in my life personally, but also this idea of limitation creates value. When you have something that
Absolutely.
is limited, it shoots up in value. I mean, it's basic supply and demand economics. It's basic economics, and not just economics from a financial perspective, but in any currency, whether if it's the currency of relationships, if it's the currency of health, if it's the currency of your mental health, your growth, anything that is limited will shoot up in value because there's a limited supply. And then what happens is that demand will artificially shoot up. Bitcoin does that actually. They have this thing called, they call it the halving, where they will artificially constrict the amount of Bitcoin that is available on the market. And then what happens? Well, the value of Bitcoin shoots up. And we're seeing that now. The value of anything is shooting up because, I know I can almost say with a 100% certainty that when things start going back to normal, you thought that things were flooded before. I mean, I can't even imagine like going to like a restaurant when things get lifted, because I can guarantee you that it's going to be like flooded, and like the Chili's across the street that probably had like a 10-minute wait time is going to have like an hour wait time for like the first several weeks because people are just going to want to get the heck out,
Yeah, and probably something going out, as I said earlier, before we thought going out was so great. Now at home, we realize what's really important. But you really realize how important almost everything is when you're just sitting alone, I guess, because now you're thinking, wow, man, all those times you used to just go out to Starbucks just to get a coffee. You didn't, know, something just you don't even think about, and now it's just the first time you go there to get a coffee, you're going to kind of be like, wow, like,
it's going to be like this amazing experience.
Yeah. You're going to talk to everyone there.
Yeah. It's this thing of supply and demand. I mean, you said it very well.
It's gone.
Yeah. I mean, you really did say it well, because there's no use wasting energy on something you can't do. There's really no point in that. If anything, you shift your focus and you gain an appreciation for what's to come. You gain an appreciation for it, and you kind of have a respect and appreciation for it. So that way, when it is lifted, you will probably enjoy it more than ever, especially at first, And I think that's kind of what's going to happen with everything, really.
Even like public transportation and stuff, things may change, people may understand hopefully people will become a little more, I guess, health conscious, a little more clean.
Sure.
But I know that first time going back to the movie theaters is going to really be, it's going to be real cool.
Yeah, it's going to be like the first time when you were 5 years old and mom and dad said, let's go to the movies. And you're like, what's that? And then
Yeah,
you show up there
exactly.
and it's this magical land of seats and popcorn and this big screen that as a child is probably the biggest thing you may have seen up until that point, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind
Yeah.
of like going to be this eye-opening experience of the mundane becoming beautiful. And it's something that I mean, I personally, even before this happened, I've always had an appreciation for the mundane because, you know, when you have a life and it's a life that you want to really enjoy, you have to find joy in the small things. I mean, even before
Mhm.
this, I've gotten coached on those things, on just really appreciating the small things. Gratitude has always been a part of my journey, especially when I started coaching. Now more than ever, we're doing gratitude videos every single day now. You know, it just got, it's like it was there before, now it's just enhanced. Now it's just more so. And I always remind myself, there's a man who I know. He's a good friend of mine, and we've exchanged business before. And he always talks about tuning in, like a radio station, like when there's something going on in your life, whether if it's good or bad, and you've been avoiding it, or it's so, you know, it's really something that really excites you. You know, tune into it, like really tune into it. Ask, you know, what's going on, like turn up the volume on that. And right now more than ever, you know, turn up the
Mhm.
volume on what's showing up in your heart. If you know, if you have someone that you want to reach out to, if there's something that you want to do, if there's some shift that you want to make, turn up the volume on that and really tune into
Yeah,
it.
now's the time.
Now's the time to tune in and bring up the radio station of what's going on in my heart, you know. I guess what's going on in my heart. Um, WGIMF, you know, 99.7, you know,
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
turn into that radio station, you know, really turn in. And I guess one of the most important questions too that we want to go over was to give some practical, pointers during this time about gamification. So one pointer that I want to give right off the bat is having a scoreboard and creating some sort of scoreboard structure that is specific and measurable, and that you have a specific outcome or a specific
Exactly.
process goal. So for
Every
working
game,
out,
has an ending.
every game has an ending.
Is it when you play the old Mario games? You see kind of it's like a game board, but you see the whole path you have to take essentially.
Yeah.
All the different castles, all the different worlds you have to go to, and you see yourself here, and okay, well, I have to go here, 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 and then I'll be here. And that's kind of the same thing when it comes to gamifying your life, where you just said the scoreboard is just having a vision essentially of where you
Yes.
want to be and understanding the steps that you need to be there.
Yeah, so the scoreboard is something very unique. And the scoreboard is something that it can be tailored any way you want it, and you can play it. So you can play a scoreboard traditionally by creating some sort of point system where you kind of give yourself points for activities that you complete. And you can create easy, medium, and hard tasks and assign a point value to each and kind of use that as a metric. So for example, if you have some sort of, let's use a personal growth example. So let's say you're reading a book, okay? Well, maybe the easy goal for that day
Mm-hmm.
will be, you know what, I'm going to read 5 pages today, and that easy task will give me 10 points for the day, okay? Well, then you have the medium task and say, okay, well, the medium task is I'm going to finish 2 chapters today, and that will be equivalent to 25 points. And then you have the hard task, and this is like the ultimate win for the day. This is
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm going to read something bombastic. I mean, something like 50 pages, 100 pages, 5 chapters, 10 chapters, and you give yourself 100 points. And you have a bar that you have, and you have a sheet of paper, and maybe you set a goal for that day the goal for that day is to accumulate 75 points. Well, if you have a 75 points, that means that you can either just do 10 easy tasks or 7 easy tasks, or you can do a medium task with 2 easy tasks, or you can just do 1 hard task and just complete the entire bar. So a scoreboard system gives you a metric system where it's specific and measurable, and you can do that with a book, maybe a course that you're taking, maybe you'll watch 2 videos today, or you'll complete 1 section. And you kind of use that as a metric system, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be one pointer I have. The second pointer I have is something very similar to kind of what Shiv talking about is actually having a virtual map. And this works really well with people who are visual. So if you like to see your progress and kind of how you're moving, I encourage you to have something similar to what I have back there, which is like a vision board, and then you can kind of map out your journey. So and how you can do that, for example, is you start off in level 1, and maybe you take a picture of the book, you know, and you say, okay, well, this is the cover of the book. My journey is starting right now. I'm just starting to read this book. And then, you know, you kind of, you know, on day 3, for example, you take a picture and it's like, wow, over the last 3 days, I've read 30 pages. And maybe you take a picture of page 30. And maybe you have a couple highlights of some pages that stood out to you. So it's kind of like a log. You're kind of logging your journey. And you take snapshots of moments that were important to you. And then the end of the journey, when the book is done, you take a picture of the back cover. And it's like, it symbolizes, the last page, it symbolizes that the journey is complete. And maybe you take a picture of yourself with the book, and you take a couple snapshots of maybe, you know, this book, how it impacted you in the real world. Yeah. And so, for example, maybe the book was about accomplishing a project, and maybe you take a picture of the first project that you accomplished because of you reading that book and how it applied to your real life. So a visual map of your journey, and you can do that with a simple poster board. You can go to Walmart. Walmart's still open. Big stores that have multi-utilities, and wear your mask, of course. But, you know, 59 cents to buy a poster board and a couple sheets of construction paper, and then just get to work and really map out your journey, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And you're going to need to map it out before going on, you know, any kind of extensive journey. You should have a map.
Yeah, make it a map. And then the third pointer I have, which applies to both the scoreboard, the point system, and the journey system, is really getting clear with what is my end game. So getting clear with what my end game is, and this is a big gaming term, and it's used a lot in massive multiplayer online games, so MMOs. It's used a lot, the end game. There's also a movie named after it, Avengers Endgame, and it's just this idea of getting, you know, when you get to the end of your journey, well, what's next? You know, when you've accomplished a journey, and having a purpose-centered end game, where I want to get to this place, tapping into your why, as Simon Sinek says, really getting clear with your why is super clear. So having a purpose-driven end game, and getting in touch with that at the start, and having that be the filter for any game that you play. And Yu-Kai Chao talks about this in his book, Actionable Gamification, and I'm going to talk about this during my workshop, is the idea of having an epic calling, or something that is bigger than yourself. So we love, for example, in games where you're the protagonist, you're the hero, you're the heroine, and you have to accomplish some worldly feat. You have to slay the dragon that's terrorizing the village. You have to go on a journey to find the 4 crystals of light and banish the darkness. So having an epic calling, maybe your epic calling for you is, well, I want to be an example for my children. You know, I want to be the father. I want to be the mother whom my children could look up to. I want to be the spouse, you know, who they can turn to. I want to create a ripple effect in the planet. I want to focus on the environment. I want to focus on creating more meaningful relationships. I want to focus on leveling up other people's health. So think about what your epic calling is and have that be your purpose-centered end game for whatever it is that you embark on. And I think that would be the last major pointer that I want to tap on. I want to tap into today for your personal growth and your gamification during this COVID-19, because this is the time. That's the truth. This is the time. This is the time to do that. Those kind of things more than ever, right? More than ever.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is the time people kind of been wanting. Oh, I never had the time to read this. I never had the time to learn that. Now you do have the time to do that. So
Yes.
absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. Anything you feel like you wanted to add on to that?
You know, you kind of really nailed it, honestly, everything I was going to say. About the game plan. I mean, one thing I've been trying to learn personally, kind of a nerdy thing to want to learn, but you know, something I've always loved and something I decided to start learning now are magic tricks, for example.
That's
little
so
card
fun.
tricks, you know?
Oh, that's so fun.
And I used to learn them a lot when I was younger, but you know, I couldn't really dedicate too much time to it. But recently, every day I've been trying to learn one little card trick, you know? And I know this isn't a worldly duty or something or some grand adventure, but for me, it's like, you know, you challenge your mind a little bit, and I understand where I want to get to at least.
Exactly.
I want to get to this point. I need to learn these things to get there. You know, so definitely what you're saying, you gotta have an end. You know, it's like if you buy a video game and there's no end to it, you know, I mean, they would never sell a game like that. You know, like you need to have a concise and maybe if you don't know what it is, sometimes you'll figure it out as you start doing it, or you might have to change. And you might think maybe I set my expectations too high, or maybe I set them way too low and I just blasted right past them, you know? So what you're saying is right. The map, the end game, you gotta really have that.
Yeah, and it's something. It's fun. I mean, it's really fun. And I think a lot of times too, we tend to undervalue fun. And I think that for me, I'm the biggest 5-year-old that I know. And if something's not fun, I mean, I have a hard time doing it. I really do. I mean, if I'm doing something, whether if it's personal or professional, and it's not fun, I mean, it takes a lot of energy to do it. And so I find ways to make it fun. If I'm talking to someone and it's not fun, it's like, man, like I don't want to invest more time and energy into this conversation if it's not fun. And it sounds childish. Oh, but you know, you're an adult. It's like, but it doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter how old you are. Like, you know, life is, I mean, one of the biggest role models I have in this lifetime, in this life, is Mother Teresa. And one of probably the most iconic figures on the planet. And one of her best quotes is saying that life is a game, so play it. And this was a woman that lived her life, I mean, really for the sake of humanity, really for the sake of good, really for the sake of giving back and helping people. And she took what she did seriously, but she understood the value of fun, and she understood the value of games. And so why do we have to be any different? Why can't we have fun?
Exactly.
So,
I agree 100%.
Yeah, if you're not having fun, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
You're doing it wrong.
Exactly.
And it's really a good point of reflection to really sit back and say, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? Or what is going on? How is my reaction to this situation wrong?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And how can I tweak it? How can I adjust it? How can I make it fun? Because fun is a magical it's a magical energy bringer, and it can really shift the tide on anything. And I always think about Thanksgiving, and if you are sitting down after a Thanksgiving meal and you're full and you're like, oh, you're so stuffed and you don't want to do anything. If somebody comes in and says, hey, let's play a game, and it's something you enjoy, well, all of a sudden you're just filled with energy. You're gonna do it. You're gonna go from this low energy state, and you're just gonna rise up and just go outside and play that game of basketball, play that football, throw the ball around, or play that game of chess, whatever. But games have a way of injecting energy into the otherwise mundane and making things fun,
Absolutely.
especially if they have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And on that note, I guess let's go ahead and wrap this up. I mean, what a great podcast, honestly. If I do say so myself.
No bias.
Yeah, no bias whatsoever. No bias. So we are Shiv and Mauro, and we thank you so much for joining us. We definitely want to hear from you. We would love to hear how you are gamifying your life. Feel free to reach out to us, comments.
DM, comments, anything.
We have social media at Crusader Coaching. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel. We have Twitter. We have a Patreon page as well if you want to support our content. And we really look forward to hearing from you. We actually have a live workshop coming that you can enjoy from your living room. And it's actually on this very topic in much more detail. Gamify Your Life. Tuesday, we're going to be doing it live, 7:30 p.m. from here in South Florida. We're going to be putting it on Instagram and Facebook.
Anywhere in the world, I guess. Really.
Anywhere in the world. We really want you to tune in. Yeah, it's live. We will be taking questions as well. So if you tune in, we always book in time to answer questions and to have a little bit of an exchange and discussion. So you can tune in. I'll start the broadcast a few minutes before 7:30 to kind of set up and greet everyone, and then we'll go into the workshop. And we have a really cool workbook for those of you who reach out to us ahead of time. We can send that to you via email. That way you get it before the workshop, or you can tune along. You can follow along perhaps during the workshop as well, because there might be some activities that coincide with what we're talking about. But definitely we want you to have the workbook ahead of time, and it'll have some content for you to complete after the workshop as well. So we definitely believe in real world application, and we want you to have that. So the date for that workshop is April 21st, not February 21st, April 21st, 2020, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And check us out. We look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah. I hope to see you there, see your comments.
So thank you so much for tuning in. It has been a pleasure to have all of you here. And until next time, guys, take care.
Take it easy,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Take it easy. Excellent.